Today we'll be meeting people not often seen in daylight. Vampires.
The show. Now, I expect at some time we've all dressed up as ghoulies, ghosties and long-legged beasties for Halloween. But how many of us would want to be a full-time vampire? Well, my first guest does. She's even gone so far as to have some fangs made by her dentist. Let's welcome Sue. Give us a smile. Oh! What did your dentist say?
He thought I was very strange, very strange.
How much did he charge you per fang?
Per fang, £15 per fang.
And it's attached to a sort of thing, a plate at the top of your mouth?
Yes, it's just the same as a brace would be, except a lot more comfortable and I can talk normally.
Now, why on earth would anyone want to spend 30 quid on a couple of fangs?
It's the shock value. That's part of it, anyway. Part of the fact I can walk over to a man, bite him on the neck, and he feels it very much. Now,
when you talk about walking up to a man and biting him on the neck, this is not a hypothetical situation.
No.
We're talking about last Saturday night alone, your neck biting totaled... How many?
Six men.
Now, were these strangers?
Yes, complete strangers, never met them before. They actually a couple of them walked over to me and said, you know, I have fantasies about women with long teeth, would you mind biting me? So, of course, I obliged. I don't like to leave people wanting. It's not peculiar. Normally set by who you stay with, who you're living with. And where I come from, this is quite normal.
Well, where do you come from?
Well, no, not Pennsylvania. I come from Stoke, and there's approximately...
Don't tell me Bram Stoker came from Stoke as well, and that's why he's called Bram Stoker. You come from Stoke, and that's the way people behave in Stoke?
Well, I have approximately 60 people. I run a game, and we meet every 4 to 6 weeks, and everybody dresses as a vampire, and we are vampires, basically.
You take the whole vampire thing very seriously, partly because you find it terribly sexy, don't you?
Oh, yes, it is. Tall, dark, handsome men coming over and biting you on the neck is great.
Just tell us what it is you do for a living.
Well, at the moment, I'm in my 3rd year of a 4-year course of a teacher training degree.
I mean, I have to say, you know, would you like to entrust your children to this vampire? I mean, really. Occasionally you have been known to go into teacher training college with your fangs in.
Yes. All my classmates tend to call me nicknames now. They tend to crack a lot of jokes about whether I'd like a pint of blood with my lunch. I can cope with it. I'm used to it. I get it a lot anyway.
So you're part of this vampire society. You dress up, you act the vampire. But do you believe that vampires really exist?
Oh, yes, of course. Why shouldn't they?
Yeah, I'm actually a parent governor at a school, and there's no way that I would actually have you in my school.
Why not?
No. Because your ideas to society today are wrong. You're enacting a part that you wish to be within yourself. You're not letting people see you as a person. You're hiding behind a...
Well, not really, because I don't do this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Yeah, but you say you bite necks and stuff like that. I mean, it's rubbish.
Well,
show me the marks on your neck.
Lots of people bite necks. You show me someone who hasn't had a hickey in their life.
Yeah, but show me the marks on your neck. Have you got marks on your neck? I mean, is there anybody in here with a crucifix that they could frighten her? And
I did have one under one of my bra straps. I can't remember which one it was.
A publicity stunt. No. You're doing it for publicity. You're not actually
no, I'm not
putting yourself first. You're hiding behind a mask. You're covering up. You're covering up.
Watching too much movies.
Well, it did start with films.
She doesn't go to bed at night, I mean.
It did start with films, yes. I agree totally. However, I'm not hiding behind anything at all. I have a life, I have a persona, which is my own.
Yes, but if you're role-playing, how do you know your role-playing is not going to go into your real life, your everyday life? That's why you can't be a teacher. It can't happen. Nobody's
Why
not
not? None of the
going to send
schools
their
I've
kids to
ever
school.
been in
If
have
basically you
complained
want
so
this
far.
programme now, you're not going to get a teaching job, as simple as that.
How do you know?
Question from the lady over there.
And what does your parents think of this?
Well, I didn't go directly into being a vampire. I started first by basically putting on white makeup, black lipstick, black eyeliner, occasionally wearing a black wig because I don't like to dye my hair black, and going out to nightclubs dressed like that.
Well, I won't be seen dead like that.
All right, my next guest is a psychologist who says, save your fangs and outfits for Halloween. Please welcome Dr. Glenn Wilson. Dr. Wilson, you're shaking hands with a vampire there. She's provoked quite a lot of hostility and outrage in the audience already. Do you feel outraged?
Not especially. I think so long as it remains at the role-playing level, there's little harm in it. It's a bit like the Star Trekkies. It's somewhere between a fantasy and a fetish. Of course, it does have a sexual component to it.
I'm glad you've come straight to sex directly.
Yeah.
That's excellent. what is that component?
Well, Dracula is a seduction metaphor. He's a tall, dark, handsome chap who bites women in a vulnerable part of the body, draws blood, of course, which signifies the loss of virginity, sweeps them off their feet. They become devoted to him thereafter. It's a bit like Jane Austen with a bit of fear added for frisson. And of course there are certain animals where the male will restrain the female by biting the neck, and indeed that may be necessary for ovulation.
Gosh.
Well, I don't think it's necessary myself.
You also think, Dr. Wilson, that this idea of people rising from the grave, coming out of coffins, all that sort of thing, has an actual basis in fact and in history?
Well, during the plague they had so many people dropping dead that they were very often buried in shallow graves, and if they were not quite dead they might claw their way to the surface and freak out some of the locals. So that may be one of the sources of the myth, but of course there are many others. There was Count Dracul, who had a tendency to impale people upon stakes all around his castle, and there was Elizabeth of Hungary, who would bathe in the blood of virgins because she thought it was rejuvenating. So putting all these elements together, we have the modern Dracula legend. I think Hammer Films is responsible for most of the details of the story as we recognize it today.
But is someone like Sue, who's so obviously susceptible to this whole Dracula thing, I mean, is she just a very sad kind of sickie, or is she quite normal?
Not really. If she's having a good time, I see no harm in that. I think it can, of course, become obsessional and border on a psychotic delusion, and I don't think drinking other people's blood is a good idea. You're liable to pick up hepatitis or worse. And if you are sort of creeping into other people's bedroom windows and biting unwilling victims, then obviously it's over the top.
A question from this lady.
You said it actually doesn't affect the children in the classroom. What if a child actually saw her fangs and asked, what are those fangs, miss?
Well, I don't imagine.
What do you tell them?
I take my teeth out. I don't wear them all the time.
But you said you'd had them filed down.
No, I didn't. I said they were on a plate. I said they were made for me by a dentist. They're just the same. I can take them out. I could take them out now.
Well, I think lots of people in this audience... Oh, look at that!
So you're actually not a vampire.
No, I never claimed I was a vampire.
You're hiding and you're acting.
I do this as a hobby. I do this to shock people, and I'm glad to see it's working so well on you all.
OK, let's not follow her example and just take our teeth out quite yet, OK? Keep our dentures in. Right, my next guests have had a vampire wedding and have recently changed their surname by deed poll to Dracule. Let's have a warm round of applause, please, for Lily and Justin.